Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Fangirlz Assemble. We've assembled with today's honorary fangirl, Dave.
Morning.
Thank you for joining me.
Of course.
You've joined me on Over Your New Reader before.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome
Definitely
to
a new reader.
my side show, Fangirlz. Dave and I are good friends in real life, and I've learned that he has never read a Junji Ito book nor heard of Junji Ito.
No, it was completely out of the blue for me.
Which is like
you haven't
sacrilege.
Heard of this? No. Should I have? Okay.
Lived in Japan for a very long time, and you don't know him, which is wild to me.
Yeah, no, all new for me. Had to look up the author's name from scratch, everything, and then came across all the artwork across the internet and obviously the obsession. So, yeah, it was a very interesting read and very perfect timing. I don't think this is giving away our location in any way because a third of the country was dealing with the remains of the hurricane. But with the remains of the hurricane kind of coming through, I took the day off and just sat at home and read this. It was very
perfect weather to read.
Very fitting for this story. So
yeah,
kind of creepy to be reading it and looking outside going, okay.
Yeah, it's man. And to me, this is the best one. Honestly, and also perfect timing because the show just dropped. The Uzumaki show.
Yeah, trailer for
Max.
Is it coming out on a major network? I didn't.
So it's coming out on Adult Swim. So they showed on Adult Swim, and then the next day it goes on Max.
Major network.
So I think it's on Max today. So I'm gonna watch it later.
Actually,
if you want to watch it together, let me know. We could watch that and then watch From because we've been watching From. I wonder, James in the chat, do you watch From, James? Because I feel like you watch From. But
which is also kind of on this creepy, weird vibe type thing with a little bit of horror mixed in.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of a good match for that.
If you like this, I think you should. Okay, James, is this not better? I was like, let me just try this because the rest of my room is a mess. And oh my god, this is infinitely better. I think I could probably light this well. And actually do a proper YouTube lighting. You know what I mean? You can actually see my things and not all my mess. So I think I'm going to keep this up and switch out my figures from time to time. Oh, James, you got to watch From. I think you'd like it a lot. It's made by people who made Lost. It's a big old kind of mystery deal. It's really good. But yeah, if you like this, you'll have to join me in October. I know which day I'm going to do Junji Ito, but I haven't chosen which book yet.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so there's a theme every year for Halloween?
Oh, yeah.
October and fall?
October. Every year I do another Junji Ito book.
Okay.
So it started out first Over Your New Reader year, I guess. We did Uzumaki. It's the first time I ever read it. And then the next year we did Tomie. And the next year we did... Tomie is another huge one. Next year we did Gyo. And then we started doing just the anthology books. And some of the anthology stories are really, really good.
Okay.
But before we get started, I get to shout out my sponsor, InStockTrades.com. It's actually good for you to know too, Dan, because now I literally saw people in bookstores for real. I'll be at a Barnes and Noble or Joseph Beth, and and I'll see some parent with their kid in the manga section or comic book section or some couple or whatever. And they're like, well, I don't know if I spent this much. And literally I snipe them and I'm like, oh, you want to buy something? Have you heard about it? Literally, I will do this. And this is before they sponsored us or whatever too, but you can get your books up to 50% off. And if you spend $50, you live in the United States, you get free shipping. And it's just bomb proof. This shit will be here. I'm sure some people have got ISC packages in the storms and that their shit's fine. Amazon wrecked immediately. All those books are messed up. And then they're here's damages sales. And I bought some of the damages and I don't notice anything. And so I'll get a book for $4 and it's damaged. I'm like, well, where? It's the best.
Nice.
In chat, I have a pick of the month coming up soon. So I'll let you all know. I'm pretty sure it's one of those Monster Cat books. But In Stock Trades is the best. I'm about to order some books for Old Reader, New Reader for next month. So
I think that's always been one of my blocking, but one of the reasons I never got much into comics was just the cost.
Yeah.
For me. So yeah, any sort of discount is always good.
Well, this is perfect. Actually, I think what I'll do probably it looks like there's a new Junji
Oh.
Ito book, so I'll just order this one. That's the one I'll do for next month. But I'll read it for sure. Oh, and they all look nice together. Anyways, but you always check our sponsor at StockTrades.com. They're great. I'll talk about them until I'm dead or they're dead, whichever comes first. Anyways, not to be dramatic. Uzumaki, it's your first time.
Yes.
So,
yeah. All first time. And I don't know if, I guess this came out in late 90s. So I don't know if like you were reading it when it was coming out, but of course I got to read it all in one go with the compendium or whatever.
That's exactly how I read it in that version.
In this all together in one. It's I don't know, that's really cool because you gotta get to see the progression from each story, which if it was coming out in Japan at the time, it was probably coming out in those like monthly,
like a tankobon or whatever.
Yeah, the books. I can't remember what they're called, but you go and sit down in one of like the yaki udon or yakisoba restaurants, and like you'd see all the guys there because they get in their fresh copies that come into all the restaurants, and it was sort of the attraction to get you to come in and eat too. But it had the monthly or quarterly release. It's a lot of work for a monthly.
Yeah, with Junji Ito, like a lot of his stuff, like a lot of horror manga artists and writers, they would kind of have like that, like a tankobon monthly thing, and they'd have like shorter stories. And so he got popular with doing a lot of those. Same with like a lot of the other big ones. Where there's like a monthly thing that had like different stories come out, which is not, I guess, that dissimilar to like American comic books back in the day with like eerie tales and whatever. But like, yeah, since Uzumaki, really, like these huge volumes of his work where they're all branded together really nice, just gotten insanely popular in the past like 5-6 years. Places like Hot Topic and FYE and like Box Lunch are just like full of Junji Ito style like clothing and art. There's a Hello Kitty like collaboration right now.
Yeah, that's
hilarious. But yeah, he's interesting too because he's just a cheery guy. Like he's just a really happy, funny dude. People compare him to Hayao Miyazaki a lot because they're like, Hayao Miyazaki makes these beautiful, like uplifting, gorgeous, colorful art. And he is the most depressed man on the planet. He's just chain smoking. He hates his son. He sees no future in anything. And then you see Junji Ito that's like, he's like, yeah, I'll put some cat ears on and like, and then it makes this like this like bleak, weird stuff. Like, so we're doing Uzumaki. That literally means spiral in Japanese. So people in the chat probably have heard about it, but just in case, the whole premise kind of is like this seeing these spirals around town.
Yeah,
like what weird. Yeah, we can show anything.
Okay.
It's I'm sorry. I can highlight you. But they basically like take over the town in like super crazy ways. And Junji Ito's just like, what if a spiral did this? And then that is what happens.
Yeah, and it's really like, so as somebody who can feel this themselves too, but like the level of obsession, that's like, it's interesting. And I didn't know when I was getting into it, it was just sort of anthology, like the first couple are anthology, but then it sort of takes off into its own self-contained storyline. And I think I saw a comment on the internet, somebody saying, oh, that mirrors a spiral too, because it spirals in from basic anthology stories until it gets crazier and crazier as it gets.
It is obsession. Like it just sticks with you, and then it doesn't stop, which kind of works like a hypnotist sort of deal. And I wonder if that's where he got it from. Yeah, the panel from the first channel with the dad looking at and thinking about all the different spirals is one of my favorite Ito panels. Absolutely. Like it's all in this one town, or first chapter, and it kind of starts off with one of these two students are like the longer running plot, where they kind of run into these different stories, where this guy's like, something's weird in this town. And this girl's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, he's looking sickly, he's like, he's scared and obsessed and worried. And she's like, I don't get it. But then like the dad gets messed up and all this stuff. There's so many stories to talk about, but so I guess first impressions first, and then we could just dig into like, I don't know. What did you, I do a lot. I was like, here's this big old thing.
Yeah, no, first impressions, didn't know what I was getting into when it started. And I kind of when I
Yeah.
started, I figured, oh, this is just going to be anthologies the whole
Yeah.
way. Like it's going to stay at this kind of surface level. But you feel the nervousness and you feel the like just reading it, you feel the anxiety that comes with the
Yeah.
obsessive compulsive behavior of the characters. And of course, there's a really interesting mystery part to it, which that definitely kept me going all the way through the end because it's like, what is going on? I want an answer to all this,
Yeah.
especially after you get in a couple episodes or a couple of chapters in. And it's like they have to come to a conclusion at this at some point. Um, but yeah, it's very interesting. The body horror is very interesting. Kind of has a trying to think like The Thing or other.
Yeah.
Who was that? Trying to think of the guy who made all the props and effects for that. Stan Winston, I think.
Mhm. I think so.
Is that it? Anyways, but yeah, you feel that anxiety, and it increases as you get towards the end, just like the Spiral, as they kind of ramp things up. But there's some scary stories in there with like the one that creeped me out the most when I read it was the guy hopping out of the coffin because he'd been turned into a Jack in the Box and his body was turned into a spring and he was just hot. Like that was very creepy. But then there's kind of the cute story too about like the other couple that started from the two ends of the row house, that their family, very Romeo and
Yeah.
Juliet
God, the
type
row house
story.
is so creepy.
Yeah, very creepy. Or where and they end up intertwined in the end and jumping into the
Yeah.
lake together. So that was kind of cute in less of a
Yeah.
anxiety way. But yeah, the row houses are creepy. I remember seeing those when I was in Japan, but just and the one where they end up with spiral warts growing out of them, very terrifying to think about.
He does a
And like
great job of like slowly ramping up.
yeah, right.
What I like, because you start with just like, kind of not surface level things, but like high school issues, right? Or
Hmm.
like I love the girl. She's like, well, everyone's just always done whatever I told them to do. Everyone just listens to me because she's got this like glowing,
Right.
and he's like, whoa, wait, like, and it just slowly consumes her whole like face.
Hmm. That was when it was at that point I was starting to think, okay, maybe there's like a black hole or something
Yeah.
because it's sort of like sucking people down into a spiral because she just then of course gets consumed by it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and the ones where like their hair becomes spirals. So it's like the more vain they are, the more the spirals take over their hair, and then that takes over the town as they follow them. But
Yeah.
I think I was kind of the one thing that I thought was missing was just every time you switch between a chapter, it didn't quite reset in the beginning, but like the town is full of so many horrors. Why would anyone stay there?
Well, I guess that's part of the thing in his stories too, where like it's like the malaise has taken over the town. It's almost like they don't realize it. I think that happens a lot of these Junji Ito books, but specifically this one, because even
Mm,
the air, like the sky is kind of weird. You're seeing a little bit of the spirals in the sky. It feels like
yeah.
everything's just like vaguely foggy. It's as if the second you've entered it, everyone is just so unaware. Like you have your main character that's aware of this, like the guy that's like, no, I'm seeing this happen. And everyone else is just sort of like, this is
Yeah, they're
fine.
just going along with it. This is yeah, okay. Well,
Yeah, and even the row
mm,
house, by that point, everything is majorly messed up
hmm,
and super scary, and everything is just like it feels like you're in a giant whirlpool that's about to like explode, and everyone's still just kind of living as if
yeah.
it's
Oh, it's right. The slugs. Thank you for mentioning that. Uh, yeah. Wow. Yeah, especially once they get into the topic of cannibalism towards the end. But yeah.
Elon. I think my favorites. I mean, Uzumaki's my number one. Tomei is a second, and then the other ones I think is a lot of smaller ones. Oh man, now I've got to have you read Soichi. That kid's creepy as hell. It's a very like even before I read him, I knew what he looked like because I saw it so many like art. If you look at Junji Ito stuff, and this kid, he's like a bunch of nails in his like he's holding his mouth at like as his teeth,
Oh,
and he's
lovely.
got like these candles like strapped to his head, and he's just a really shitty kid. Um, but there's short stories I really like. Like there's one, and they sound weird when you describe them, but when you read it, you're like it sticks with you. And I think one of them there's this. the story, maybe it's like 5 pages even, where there's all these holes in a mountain,
Hmm.
and they're like people shaped. And this man is like, I have to go in there. It's calling to me. This hole is for me. This hole was made for me. And he just kind of goes into it. And he just keeps going back to it, gets stuck, and he just gets stuck there. And that's the story. But the way it's written is like, ugh.
Okay.
Ugh.
Do all of his books have that sort of like obsessive compulsive obsession theme type? Okay.
It's like you just don't know why it's happening. You can't stop yourself.
Okay.
Or there's just, a weird character that you don't get. And sometimes there's like some characters that kind of show up over and over again a little bit, like archetypes. But Tomi is like a really good one too, where she's just this beautiful girl, but crazy shit happens around her. People are so obsessed with her they can't stop. But what I like about Junji Ito in particular, because we both live in Japan. We spent a lot of time consuming Japanese media. I assume you've watched a lot of other Japanese horror and stuff as well.
A little bit here and there. Yeah.
A lot of Japanese horror is like, it does body horror. There's a lot of blood and gore, but a lot of sexual violence in Japanese. Well, in Japan, anything is, sexual violence, but Junji Ito doesn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. There wasn't any of that.
I like that. Like, this book is terrifying, and the body horror is weird, but I think because it's black and white, I'm not like, ugh, like, it's palatable. Like, it's scary, but it's so weird and nonsensical. Like, this thing can't happen.
Yeah, it's more fascinating than it is. I mean, it is creepy, but it is also, there's a fascination to it where you just kind of look at the drawings and you do the same thing. Your eye kind of follows the spiral and you look at the artwork and
I should bring up some art, but
everything from the snail people to is it the dad who gets wrapped up into a centipede eventually?
Yeah, because he's so obsessed, like his pottery and spirals, that he just becomes one. But I definitely love, like, oh gosh, I think wrapping up in this like labyrinth towards the end is such a good choice, where the row houses just gather with one another and create their own spiral, as if like the town was meant to become this.
And I was really fascinated just from the thought of, like, he must have thought of this when he started, because it came out over the course of at least 2 years if it was coming out in the monthly releases. So he must have thought of that in the beginning, because they what is that, Chekhov's gun or whatever the thing is, where it's like, okay, you don't introduce something unless you're going to use it later on. So like the row houses got put in early, and you knew there was something going on with them, but having them become this labyrinth in the end, and
it makes sense being close to the water, that like you would want, because I wonder how he thinks about stuff, and it's something that I should probably read up on more, because it seems like the more you read it, it's like he must just see a weird thing in life and be like, what can I do with this?
I can make a book out of this.
Yeah. Like, okay, a coffee cup. What's weird about a coffee cup? Right? Let me figure out, okay, what if a person becomes the coffee cup? Like, I read one about a couch where a person is just literally is inserting himself into behind the couch for somebody to sit on. The story's great, and it shouldn't be. Like, oh, Mark, good morning, Mark. Mark, next time you come in, I want you to meet Dave. This is my surrogate dad, and I love him.
Oh, cool.
And he's great. Oh, and from Wisconsin.
Oh, there we go. Yep, Madison boy. So
he brings me good cheese. It's not Ito, but I highly recommend Dementia 21. I have wanted to read that as well. Oh, I'm so excited to have you read this. I love these books. When I thought about this week, I was like, oh my God. He hasn't oh yeah, I should have him read it. That'd be great. Come on the show and hang out with me. Because Kristan, my
I'm glad that you're able to suggest that, because I would never find these on my own. There's no way I would know about these. So having you be like, no, you have to read, like some of the other ones you've lent me over the past couple of months or the last year, has just been like, oh, I never would have found that. This is so fascinating.
There's such good media out there. Like, there's so many good stories that I think, I think now Uzumaki is going to work as an animated thing, but otherwise, this can't happen.
Mm-hmm.
This story, like, they made a live action movie. I have not watched it. Maybe you and I should watch it together and see how bad it is.
How?
I don't know. I don't know if I would want to see it because I think it being in, I think if you have something in color or in live action, it takes away from what the genius of this is.
Mm-hmm.
So, it came out like 2000. I've never seen it, but I just don't think.
I mean, like, part of it too is just in the length and span of a movie. I don't think you could do it justice to the whole journey and like all the different stories, not unless they're only like 10 minutes a piece, in which case you're hardly covering it.
Yeah, I think finally, for those of you who maybe seen the trailer, I think finally this show is going to do it well because I've watched the trailer. It looks as if, and I don't know this for sure, I have to look into it, but the way it's animated, it looks as if they've drawn every single frame because it just kind of moves disjointedly, and I think you have to have that for it to work.
Okay. Is the show in black and white too?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's a nice choice.
It looks very, very good.
Okay.
It kind of looks mocapped, I think. I think they must have done some mocap with it. Because it feels eerily too real.
Okay.
Oh. So cool.
Yeah, I like that they did it in black and white. That's nice. And yeah, just come to think of it, I realized that, yeah, there's like no blood in this series. No. I hadn't thought about that until now, but until you mentioned the colors and thinking, oh yeah, normally like comics like this, you'd see.
Yeah, and there's typically not.
Yeah.
I wonder if I can get Elliot to grab some. Hey, Elliot. Do you think you'd grab a couple of Junji Ito books from downstairs and bring it up for me? Thank you. Okay. But yeah, like I think that's what I like about it. I think that's why, Kristan and I always call it cozy. To me, reading a Junji Ito book is cozy for like it's comfortable, it's new, it's different. In a way that like horror can be like tantalizing where you're like, what's gonna happen next?
Mm-hmm.
Which is what I like about horror. I like I don't know. I like it the same way I like mystery stories where I'm like, oh, or I'm scared or I can't figure out what's gonna happen next. But with this, it's just so weird.
Yeah.
That I can't wait to see what's going to happen with it.
Yeah. Well, I got to ask you, I don't know if this is the right time to jump into it, but the ending of the story, and they kind of bring it to they bring it to a conclusion for the two main characters. Like they have their complete story, but like, what is it? What's down there? Like,
I don't know.
I think we're kind of meant to leave it open to interpretation, but like, is it Cthulhu? Is it something else? Is it like...
I guess you could argue it's something like that. And honestly, I think bringing up Cthulhu and bringing up Lovecraft is a great comparison. Because to me, he's like the Japanese Lovecraft in a way, but like not racist.
Okay.
And just a very nice man. Because I think everything in here is so unbelievable. Because the great thing about Lovecraft is like the beauty of Lovecraft is his writing. It's things that you can't even think and visualize.
Yeah, the mind that created that is, I think, beyond a lot of us.
Yeah,
and then Junji Ito, but like to think of it in the first place is
you shouldn't be able to, right? Like that's right. the point. And here he's visualizing it, but it's so like, how is any of this?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the point of it is like you're never gonna know how anything, beyond comprehension,
right? Yeah, because I mean they end up in the Spiral City-ish thing with like screws drilling up into the earth, but you see a lot of other screws going up, so it makes you kind of wonder too. Like,
thank you. Do you want to wave to everybody?
But like makes you wonder if it's happening elsewhere too, because like she came down one spiral screw, but there were other ones drilling up through the earth,
and it could
other
be
places too.
Like, and how terrifying would it be if it's happening everywhere? But I also kind of like the idea of like, I love stories about weird Japanese small towns that something crazy is happening, but it's just there. It's like a weird contained space that you can't get out of.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot of Japanese horror games I love, like Fatal Frame. I think you'd like that one a lot. It's people from our time, like present time, they end up getting stuck in like this old town full of ghosts and they can't leave. And the way to fight the ghost is with taking the pictures with a camera obscura.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that that's put together is really cool. And there's a whole bunch of stories like that. And I like that there's a weird, like, self-contained.
I see why you like From now. That's yeah.
Yeah. God, I love From. It's so cool. Yeah, that'd be a good game, honestly. And I wonder if like Japan is a perfect background for this because of how weird their ghost stories and like demon lore and Shinto gods are. Because if you think about like Shinto gods, where one's like an umbrella with an eye, and like one's a geisha with a really long neck, and like the yokai are so weird, and they are like regular objects sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense that like some guy would come in and do this. So I want to show you the next one. You've got to read is Tomie, by the way. It's another big one. But she's one you'll see everywhere. And this is like old Junji Ito. So what's also cool is the more you read him, the more you get to see how his art style is like changed throughout the years.
Okay. Yeah. So that one earlier than Uzumaki, is that what you said?
I think so. Because Tomie is, oh my gosh, what a queen. I mean, gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe somebody can fact check it for me. But the art style looks older, so I believe this is older than Uzumaki.
Okay. Yeah, there's a very distinct style to anime and manga from like the 80s and 90s, and then even earlier too. But
and this one you've got to read as well. So Junji Ito's wife had 2 cats that she brought into the marriage. And I mean, they're adorable. I think he has actual pictures of them in here. I mean, they're cute cats. Let me see if I can find I thought they were in here. Oh yeah. They're regular cats. But he was so creeped out about them. He wrote this true story about these cats and how like eerie they can be to him. Like,
oh dear. Okay.
Yeah, it's like the accursed cat is here. A curse is upon my household. And how like his wife just loves them, and they're so nice, his wife. And then like he's trying to get them to like him. But it's just not like, oh sorry, it's so bright on this one, it doesn't work that well. But he's like, suckle on me, I command you. Oh Alex, are you free one Tuesday next month to do? You want to come on and meet? But Dave, you have to join now. Read Junji Ito book. I'll send you a book, Alex. Alex is good people. You would love him too. Siren is a great example of that too. Siren's another one where you get stuck in it, you know, and it's weird and perfect time of year. I don't know. Do you play any horror games? Really?
Horror games? No. I mean, probably the last horror-ish one I ever played was Aliens versus Predator. So that dates me a little bit.
Should I be too scared to play that one?
Just the beeping in the dark. Yeah. Other than that, I never really played much for horror games. I was more the RTS type person. So
yeah.
I may have played like a Silent Hill game briefly.
Well, you have to come over when Silent 2 comes out.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I never really got into horror movies until later in life, I think. That was like just this last week, the horror was, what was it, Blink Twice? It's kind of horror.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, we're coming up on that time of year. October is like the perfect time.
Oh, that's all I want to do.
Almost to October, but like, yeah, I definitely go through an obsession in October where it's like, okay, I have to watch It and It Too, and like go through those. So
yeah, work is slowing down for me finally, which is perfect timing. So now I can enjoy October and watch spooky movies. Yeah, sometimes at work because that calms me. But Dave is coming over to watch Trap on Thursday, what I'm very excited about because that movie's ridiculous. Alex, watch Trap. It's really stupid. Watch it and then
it's a good advertisement.
It's so dumb. I've been telling everybody about Trap. I'm so excited to watch it again.
I'm excited. I've been working on some Halloween projects coming up here. So things like candy bowls and stuff like that. I love this time of year for those.
I'm not going to my big convention later in the year that I normally go to. which means I have more time to think about cosplay for next year.
Oh, there you go.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think ahead and be like, okay, what props do I need? So I can be like, okay, Dave, here's what I need. Tell me how much it is, and I'll just send money at you, please. Everyone watch Trash. Please. It's so stupid. The same way I'm like, people should watch Tusk, but don't look up anything about it ever. Have you watched Tusk?
I have, yes. It's been a long time.
Okay.
So, at least not since it came out, but yes.
Oh, man. That's
yeah, that one goes for a turn.
Yeah. I'm doing A24 shoots this year. So every year I do, I think most people in the chat know, I also do photography. That's why all my socials are weird, because they're also photography socials. But every year I do like a new like Halloween theme typically. The past few years it's just been me shooting with one person. So she and I have been doing like Stephen King stuff every year. Eventually we kind of ran out of Stephen King stuff that made sense to shoot.
Yeah.
But this year I want to do A24 movies. So I have some like, I had to move everything because of the rain this week.
Yeah.
But Midsommar, which you haven't seen, right?
Haven't seen that one. Haven't seen Pearl either. That's A24, right?
Yeah.
Like,
we need a movie night. You and I do. Now that work isn't crazy.
Yeah. Trying to think what other A24 ones are really iconic.
Oh man, there's so many. I don't know why they're gone now.
Yeah.
I'm doing Saint Maud, which I haven't seen. Lady Bird.
No.
The one with Kristen Stewart that came out that was really weird.
Oh.
Like where they work out and there's murder.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I've seen the trailer for that, but
that one was a movie that I saw.
Okay.
But yeah, I think there's something really special about this one. Are there any ones that like any specific chapters you were like, oh my god, no, like, or were you having a good time?
No, I was really enjoying it, and I think once it got to the more consistent, I mean, the whole like, the mothers like feeding on the other patients for blood and like turning to music, that was definitely a creepy one.
Yeah.
Because of course, also too, it's like, well, okay, what are the children gonna do when they grow up? Trying to think of any of the other ones that were really terrible. I don't know. It was interesting watching like the town as it gets more and more destroyed throughout the whole series. And when it was just in the anthology stage, I was like, this is okay. This is a good read. But for me, I really got caught in about halfway through when it starts like spiraling out of control.
Good work.
Then it really sucked me in, and I was like, well, I can't stop reading now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care what time of night it is.
The spiral gets you as the reader too, I think.
Yeah. So I just wanted those answers by the end. But yeah, I'm going to be thinking for a while about what that is under the ground. That's doing that. Is it feeding on the people? It probably is, because it's building itself from like the corpses of all the people that get sucked down into the whirlpool, but they're turned to stone. Yeah, I don't know.
It makes sense. I think that's what's fun about it. It could be anything, but it would make sense to me if it's like I don't know, like every so many 100 years, it's like time again for the spiral to like
time again for it to feed.
Because the way that it like placates everyone, just no one, they just keep doing things. They don't leave.
Yeah. Well, and you can't leave, I guess. That's, I mean, I saw somebody mention online too that was perhaps an allegory for it, like a lot of the small towns in Japan where you get there and you just can't leave because of
that's a good point.
Social connections and money and everything else. Like, it's very hard to get out of those small towns.
And it's easy to go crazy there.
Sucked back in with family and everything else, and you go stir crazy, and like
it's easy to lose yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Alex, not yet. I think we're gonna watch it later today.
That we should,
Let's do it. Watch from.
Okay.
I'll get my meal prep out of the way, and you can play Satisfactory, and then we can watch stuff.
Yeah. The other obsession. Oh, I've sucked my friends into that now too, and I feel I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Satisfactory. Your children will grow up abandoned and no love because I've sucked you into Satisfactory. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Alex understands. He plays Final Fantasy 14.
Oh yeah. Yep.
He gets it.
Yeah. No, the anime looks interesting. I'm excited to see how they present it, and how much time they put into each episode. Because hopefully they do it justice, and hopefully there's enough time to they actually go through the stories and show it. So we'll see. And I hope he
Nice.
Junji Ito actually had some input into the drawing. Hopefully, I mean, normally when they do these animes, they hire out a whole bunch of studios from South Korea and other countries, and have them draw it. But hopefully, he was intimately involved in the process and kept an eye, because it's his artwork, and you would hate to lose that in the translation.
I wonder if I can find any, because it seems like he must have, but I don't know. Man, I need to read more about him. Someone must have done a nice
somebody must have done a nice
deep dive, or maybe a 3-hour video essay.
Yeah, or he must have been on Japanese TV, because they do those short documentaries for the variety shows all the time.
I have to look into it. Yeah. He's so. I would love to read just a whole biography about. I think he's so fascinating. There's really no one else out there like that, because I've read a lot of other there's a lot of popular Japanese horror mangaka, and over the past few years, Chris and I have tried to dip our toes into some other people, and I still haven't done I think enough really.
What are some other big ones? Maybe chat.
Yeah, chat. Let me know, because I think one of them is Orochi. We read, and I read it because I've been chasing that high of Junji Ito, basically. Not that I'd ever run out of books, but Orochi's a one. Okay, that didn't really help me. Orochi's a big one by Kazuo Umezu, or Umez. That's under black and white. It has that old style. And this one has a whole storyline, but it didn't quite hit the way I wanted it to, unfortunately. Okay. Chris and I were reading it hoping that we would like it, especially since the physical versions are so beautiful, and it didn't quite work the way I wanted to. Who's another one? Got a list out here. There's a female one. What does she write? It was a weird one. Yeah, maybe chat's got some recommendations. Because I've read some other typical Japanese horror manga, but there's not a lot that's like this. Because there's series like Parasite or Death Note. I guess you can kind of argue.
Oh, okay.
Tokyo Ghoul.
Yeah.
Frankenfran.
I almost picked up a full box set of Death Note.
Damn it! I brought it downstairs. Or no, I didn't. 1 second.
Okay. Yeah, I almost bought the Death Note compendium. There we go.
This one I've read since I was a kid, and they weren't going to finish it. No, I should not have read this when I was a kid. But it's called Kurosaki Corpse Delivery Service. Now this one does have sexual violence and body horror, but it's about a crew of college kids that decide to start a business where they help corpses. So they have people with different talents. You've got a psychic who can talk to the dead. Mm-hmm. You've got someone who does dowsing, so they can kind of find things, right? A hacker, someone who does embalming, because they don't typically embalm in Japan, but she went to the US to learn how.
Okay.
Someone who does channeling. But he only channels a puppet, which channels an alien.
Okay.
So it's very good. I mean, very, very good. But it's definitely different. A lot of nudity and blood and violence in that way.
If I remember, you'd be on the train in Japan and you'd just be next to a person who's just reading that. It's just very normal there to have, normal-ish to have those. So you just look on the train and look over and go, what on earth are you reading?
Well, and I think it's different now, but when you and I lived in Japan, nude magazines are, at the convenience store and the airport, and Like that sort of like level of
Yeah.
it's just there. Like no
Yeah.
one.
Just more acceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm glad Uzumaki didn't have that. Yeah.
It's refreshing.
Yeah.
Like there's only one book where it does, but he didn't write the story. He did the art.
Oh, okay.
The story was originally a novel. It's called No Longer Human. And that has a significant amount of sexual assault in it. I hate that book so much. I think it's the only Joji Ito book I've sold. I have kept everything else. That one, I just pretend like it didn't happen because it's not his work. Ugh.
Yeah.
But oh man, we should watch Japanese horror films sometime.
Yeah. Yeah. I
A
don't know
lot
if
of them are
Chad has
not
some
good.
recommendations, but yeah.
But there's a particular I used to travel to conventions and do panels on must see Japanese movies, I called it. And like there's a particular director that oh my god, is his name gone out of my mind? It is too late. But he did a movie called Suicide Club forever ago.
Oh,
and
that
now
I think I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it was really divisive.
Yeah.
At the beginning, a bunch of schoolgirls jump in front of a train. And everybody's killing themselves. They're trying to figure out why. The reason is interesting, actually. But now, like in the present day, he's done some more work that I think is very good. That I think you would like. Like one's more comedic. Like these two Yakuza groups. This guy's like, hey, I want to make a film with the Yakuza. Or like the I guess head of the Yakuza, like, I want to have a film, have my daughter in it. And he's like, okay. But they're also at war with another Yakuza group. And it's like, what if we just film you guys fighting? Except they're fighting for real and killing each other for real. And it's this action-packed, like, weird. It's so good.
I'm down for those.
Yeah.
They're always fun.
And then you guys show me Guyver.
Oh, yes. Well, okay. Guyver and Guyver 2. So the US imports, which I'm sure some people in the chat will know that one. The first Guyver, I think it's so funny because I think Mark Hamill was top billing on Guyver 1. So, he's fresh out of Star Wars and they're just like, yeah, sure, come on. And he's totally not the main character, but they made him top billing for it to like suck people in to watch it. But Guyver 2 Dark Hero, that one's actually significantly better. And it's got, what's his name? He plays Solid Snake in...
Oh, David Harbour? No, David. Damn it, Alex. What's his name? David Hayter? No.
Yes, I think that's it.
Closer. Yeah.
For it.
Well, I'll watch anything with him.
Yeah, and but just the armor style and everything else they do for it, it does lean a little into especially the first one, leans into the Power Ranger aesthetic a little bit, and kind of a not.
Thank you, Alex.
Sometimes in the fun way, sometimes in not the fun way, as you have a rapping Jar Jar Binks in the first one. So that gets awkward pretty quick. Guyver 2 is so good. I caught it on TV, never could figure out what it was. And it was like 10 years later, I found exactly what it was. And I was like, I have to buy a copy of this. So it's like one of the first films I ever had on VHS.
Yeah.
Because that's all it was sold on. It was never sold on, maybe it was eventually sold on DVD, but that's a yearly watch. I have to watch Guyver 2 once a year, which is significantly better and actually has more of a...
Yeah, Alex's Guyver 2 slaps.
Like, but it comes from the original Japanese manga, and I really should read the original manga at least to compare.
Yeah.
And see like how much of the story actually translated over between the Guyvers and the Zoonoids. And
I wonder. Ooh, the manga looks cool as hell.
Yeah, the art design, the armor design is really where, I mean, it hits that nerd like piano string where it's like, oh, that's so cool. Like kind of in the Gundam-ish vein, but not really.
I like that it's like a body kind of armor thing.
Yeah, it's very it's organic armor. So it's all meant to be like biological armor. I think that's even the title, like the subtitle underneath.
Bio Booster. That's cool.
Yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of like Gaunt's kind of.
Yes. Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Pulse and Cure from Kiyoshi Kurosawa are all both incredible horror films.
I'll have to look that up.
Pulse. Ooh, okay. Oh man. Yeah, I need you two to meet too. This is what when I have like best friends, I'm like, meet my other best friend. And then that's how it happens. Oh man. Alex is my fellow manga lover. And fellow Naoki Urasawa lover. So like Pluto, which you've watched a few episodes of, which I still haven't finished. Monster and all those.
I've forgotten about that. Yeah, I should probably go back and watch the rest of it.
Incredible. So good. Oh man, I might watch some later. Oh yeah, and then oh man, yeah. Oh, Alex, I've got a show. I need to highlight you to say this, but I need to, as if I'm talking to you, I need to highlight Alex, but I should. Alex and I both read this 20th Century Boys by Naoki Urasawa, who did Pluto, and you would love it. And they have live action movies that are very good.
Okay.
They're so weird. Like this group of these kids, they make up this like world-ending situation where these aliens come and this thing has to like fight the aliens, and they're like, we're the Earth Defense Force. And they grow up, they're all older, they're meeting, like, you know, they all meet for their elementary school reunion, which is so weird that Japan does.
Yeah.
But they all still know each other and do that.
Mm-hmm.
But then
when you have those insular towns, like I think it's a lot easier because I mean, some people, that's sort of why some of the small towns are dying. People are moving away, but yeah,
they still get together.
Yeah.
But everything that they wrote down when they were kids happens. Like this like world, you know, destroying thing is happening as they predicted. And they're like, what the hell? Everything we wrote down. It's so cool.
Okay.
Oh, man, I'm feeling nostalgic. Anyways, we got off topic, but
okay. Oh, speaking of spiral, have you seen Dark City, the movie?
No.
Oh, okay.
What is that?
That was one.
I have not.
This is one of the. Oh God, there's another one we have to do between Stargate and this and everything.
We need a list. The problem is we need like an Excel sheet,
a share doc or something.
Yeah, share doc.
This movie starts on this whole same thing with spirals and obsession and the fact that they can't get out of the city and they're going in circles and they keep getting pulled to. It's not the main point of the film. Later on, like it goes a different direction.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you, Mark. That is a classic, and I need to go back and figure it out. There's a director's cut and a regular cut.
Okay.
I can't remember which one. We're like the community's kind of split on which one's actually. Yeah. Normally, people are like, "Oh, the director's cut's always better." That one's a little questionable, I think.
Okay.
But it starts with the same thing with like a mystery and people dying, and they get so obsessed with the spirals going in that they like throw themselves in front of trains, or one of them does.
This sounds like my type of movie. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when movies have things like that, where they have like the regular director's cut in some issues,
I
always get so happy because I love to like dive into like the background and trivia of things.
Oh yeah. It's like, what was the studio going for? What was the director going for? How much interference was there? Yeah, I think this one's questionable which one's better, but it's a fun film. It's really fun to watch.
That's why I loved when like we watched Dune together, and I was like, I want you to tell me everything. And you're like, I don't want to like mansplain to you. I was like, no, I need you to info dump about Dune while we're watching Dune. That makes it even
we can
better.
Info dump. Yeah.
Like,
we don't want to info dump the rest of the books because they go way crazy. But
I mean, the minute we were done, I was like, time for me to watch a whole essay about everything that happens, because that was like, that's what I like to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was, I don't know, when you first handed me this book and opened the first page, that was what and that's not the main point of the movie is the spirals, but it does start out that way for the first half hour, 45 minutes. Yeah. So it was reminiscent for it. So yeah, I don't know. Thought that was interesting.
So do you think you'd read more? Are you intrigued enough to read more Junji Ito books?
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah, even if it's just for the artwork alone is worth the read on it. It's fascinating. But I do like that I have a hard time reading things when they come out just like monthly. Like I can't get into it if they're like, so I love the fact that it came out in, big volume like that.
Especially manga. Like there's so many series that I'll read, but if I catch up, and I will because I read fast, that can mean the death of it. It can mean that I'll never catch up again. Like One Piece is the one exception. So every like I'll let it sit for 6 to 7 months, and then I'll read it all again.
Okay.
Or I'll catch up, right?
Yeah.
But like, let's say I think My Hero Academia, when that was coming out, I finished the season, and I was like, I have to know more. Famous last word. So I caught up. But if I catch up, I don't want to watch the show, right? And then I forget that it's out. Because there's no good systems anymore to remind you. Like, so I've just
okay. Right.
I will just forget. Same with like.
Yeah, I tried those for a while. There's like those ones where you can check off, like, okay, I've read this one, and this one. So like you can pick it up 8 months later and be like, okay, yeah, that's right. But no, I don't know.
Well, once everything went legit, which I'm glad it did, I enjoy reading my manga legally, but I miss my illegal sites because it kept track of everything. So I was reading everything and I knew where I was. But like Shonen Jump, which is a great app, I wish it would sponsor me because I'm like, man, $3 a month. Everything Shonen Jump, incredible.
Yeah.
But I don't know where I'm at. So that's a bummer.
That's hard. Yeah, and that's, I mean, I hate to, I like this. I like having the physical print. I do so much, but I've moved so many times in my life and had to like give up my library that I had to switch to digital for just about everything, which is really unfortunate because I miss that, like opening up the page. And I don't know, there's something tactile about having even for this one, like opening up and going from section to section. You weren't just scrolling through it. You had to pause and turn the page. Like, it's nice.
I picked and chose. I decided like manga's hard to collect because it's not cheap.
Yeah.
And it's, I read it fast. I read volumes of manga much faster than I read comic books, typically. I remember like my dad growing up, he would take me to books. We had Books A Million, and I would read an entire manga volume before we got home. It was a small town, like 10-minute drive at most, right? So,
my parents got so mad at me. Yeah, I'd be like, I just bought that book for you today. I was like, well, I finished it in 6 hours. I'm sorry.
If it's a novel, I read it in a day, right? So I have to really think about like what are things that I want to keep in my collection. Junji Ito's one of those. Naoki Urasawa, anything he does. Things like this, like if it's a nice quality, then it's worth it. Or if it's something that's really special, it's worth it.
Okay.
And I've had to like, some people are like Omar has everything. Like,
the collection is like it's a lot. It like walking into a library, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's wild.
I just
I can't do that. Even though I do a lot of space downstairs. You've seen it. One day I'll do a video, but it's just not done enough. It's not cute enough. If I had the patience or someone to be like, here's all the lights you have to buy and here's how you install them, then it'd be fine. But to do that myself and think through it.
You have a great collection though.
Thank you. I'm very proud of it. I just need to make it look better. That's what I want. I want it like lights, and I want it to be like you walk down there and you're like, oh my gosh. Who is she?
I was just looking online to see if there's like any Uzumaki 3D printable files that some people have already made. And there's a few.
There's gotta be.
One's like the girl with the spiral in her forehead. There's a couple of busts of that. Lots of Hue Forge things, which are just like images that are 3D printed and then like layered with colors, but they're just flat. They're not.
I typed in Uzumaki 3D print files, and then I forgot that Naruto Uzumaki is a character.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, why is Naruto coming out? I was like, oh, duh.
Yep.
Oh, man. Tomie. Oh, I can't wait for you to read Tomie. It's so good.
I don't know. That'd be so prime for it, especially where he's in that, like, Senate, or like the dad is wrapped up in that spiral like that, where he wrapped himself up in it was like the steaming basket or something for the tub or something, whatever that thing was.
Nice Japanese wooden tub. Think like My Neighbor Totoro, like where they have the bathing scene there. Love it, love it, love it. Well, I guess it's time. Thank you for hanging out.
Oh yeah, no, it's fun. Thanks for giving me the book to read. That was fascinating.
Yeah. I have so many of them.
I'm excited for that. That's like, yeah. That's that. I would never know these things unless you were like, you haven't Juton's like, here, read.
You just have to have somebody bring you in, and then it's like,
yeah,
over. But I still have books like I've been reading 5 or 6 years, like consistently comics and manga, and still people be like, you haven't read this, and I'm like, I don't even know how to touch like if it's a Marvel thing, I'm like,
oh, there's so many though. Well,
so
I mean,
many.
you guys are the experts on this. I'm the new reader, but yeah, there's so many. It's almost like hitting a wall. Like there's just too much to even get started. And that was my thought too when like talking to Omar, so like, oh, this series and this one and this one and this one. It's like, yeah, but where does anyone start on that? I don't.
Yeah, I've learned that it's just picking up different like areas. Like, and once you get hooked on one, like you read one story and it'll give you 2 characters that are cool in it, and you're like, oh, I want to read more about that character, and it just like
I can go down that rabbit hole on like comic Wikipedia or something where it's like, okay, I started reading about Agatha. Okay, well that means I need to learn about this. That means I need to learn about this. That leads from this, and so yeah, it's like the endless rabbit hole. Just kind of fun, but
I've got a Marvel story I think will work for you. It got me.
Okay.
And it's an event book, but it's all cosmic, so it's all in space. So already I think that gives it like you don't have to worry about all of the, I don't know.
Oh, like the Earth-based.
Yeah. And it has like the Guardians in it. It's got some like recognizable like Thanos and stuff, but
okay.
I think you'd like that stuff.
All right. Cool.
Because I read that and I was like, okay, I'm in now.
All right.
But it's big. It's a big boy.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I'll bug you this week to be like, read this next.
Yeah. And we'll watch the anime for this at some point. So
I'll hit you up later tonight.
Okay.
Where's that from? Okay.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much in chat. Thank you. I know this has been a weird. Work has finally slowed down. You can ask Dave. I've been a mess. So old reader, new reader is scheduled pretty much for one Tuesday next month, which means that now I can schedule the rest of the Sundays for old reader, Fangirlz is the show I'm doing. So I'll be doing a show tomorrow and Tuesday to make up for the fact that I need to have 4 shows a month. So I'll be on some weird times, but feel free to message me later or in the comments if you're like, talk about this. But I've read a ton, so I'll do recent reads and then I'll find another thing to talk about. But so thank you all for being patient and hanging out with me, even though it's been kind of weird times and dates. I'm going to check in with Kristan. Hopefully she'll return to me. But over here is stacked. So everybody check me out on Tuesdays. I have to read an omnibus before Tuesday. I just remembered that. That's fine. Anyways. Dave, thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're welcome back anytime.
Cool.
And everybody have a good Sunday. See you all around.